Tonight is Mormon chapter 4.
And now it came to pass that in the 363rd year, the Nephites did go up with their armies to battle against the Lamanites out of the land desolation. And it came to pass that the armies of the Nephites were driven back again to the land of desolation. And while they were yet weary, a fresh army of the Lamanites did come upon them, and they had a sore battle, insomuch that the Lamanites did take possession of the city desolation, and did slay many of the Nephites, and did take many prisoners. And the remainder did flee and join the inhabitants of the city Teancum. Now the city Teancum lay in the borders by the seashore, and it was also near the city Desolation. And it was because the armies of the Nephites went up unto the Lamanites that they began to be smitten. For were it not for that, the Lamanites could have had no power over them.
As you can see, we're still keeping the calendar here, so it's year 363. It says the Nephites went up with their armies to battle against the Lamanites out of the land desolation. And so, as you can see, it says it came to pass that they were driven back, and then while they were weary, a fresh army came, and they slayed many Nephites, took many prisoners, right, and so forth. So the Nephites are losing the battle at this point. Now, in verse 4, it kind of gives you some hint as to why they're losing. It's because the Nephites were the aggressors in this one, right? They were the ones attacking the Lamanites. It says that's why they lost. So had they not done that, that wouldn't have happened. And if you recall, the Nephites had won some battles, and they were boasting in their own strength, okay, not giving any credit to God, right? And so as we read, then God withdrew his protection and strength from them, right? But that they were so enthused with their power that even when the Lamanites retreated, they said, "Come on, let's go after them, and we'll fight some more, because we're mad that they killed some of our people, so we're going to go get revenge for what they did to us." So basically, they weren't willing to even let it end and say, let's now have peace. So, no, we're going to fight some more because we're such a strong army. Let's wipe them out. And so that was their frame of mind, and so that's why they went running after them to chase them down and fight some more. And this is what happened, that they wound up getting beat, right? Because they did that, and it's because they were boasting their own strength, not relying on God. God was not with them, and so they recklessly attacked, and this was the result. All right, so Mormon makes a point to point that out there in verse 4, as you can see. It says it was because the Nephites went up to the Lamanites that they began to be smitten. Were it not for that, the Lamanites would have had no power over them. All right, so they just would have been satisfied with the war's over and let's have peace. Then it would have been okay. But they wanted to fight some more, and this is what happened.
But behold, the judgments of God will overtake the wicked, and it is by the wicked that the wicked are punished. For it is the wicked that stir up the hearts of the children of men unto bloodshed. And it came to pass that the Lamanites did make preparations to come against the city Teancum. And it came to pass in the 364th year, the Lamanites did come against the city Teancum, that they might take possession of the city Teancum also. And it came to pass that they were repulsed and driven back by the Nephites. And when the Nephites saw that they had driven the Lamanites, they did again boast of their strength, and they went forth in their own might, and took possession again of the city Desolation.
5 is kind of a footnote to the ones we just read. It says, "But behold, the judgments of God will overtake the wicked." Right? So that people who are wicked people may think they're getting away with something, they're beyond the reach of God, all right? But they're not. It says the judgment of God will overtake the wicked. And in this case, it's by the wicked that the wicked are punished, and because, as we've said throughout these last few chapters, everybody's wicked now, so there's no side that God's saying, I'm for this side and I'm helping it. God's a spectator in this one, right? So it's just the wicked against the wicked, so therefore it's not that God's punishing anybody, it's that the wicked is beating up on the wicked, right? Killing each other, and God's just not stopping them. So that's the way he let them be punished, is they're punishing each other. And it points out it's the wicked that stir up the hearts of the children of men unto bloodshed. So that's not a godly desire to go wipe them out, right? That's just a human thing that stirs up the hearts of the children of men unto bloodshed. All right, so now as it continues on in 6 through 8, it says that now the Lamanites are going to attack another city, and so they came to attack the city Teancum, all right, but in this case it says they were driven back by the Nephites. So you can see in 8 it says, when the Nephites saw they had driven the Lamanites, they did again boast of their strength and went forth in their own might and took possession of the city desolation, right? So, this is why Mormon is not participating right now, because there's no lesson to be learned here. So no matter what happens, if they lose, they curse God. If they win, they boast of their own strength. And so there's no lessons to be learned here. It's just going to be a fight to the end. And so now they're just watching it happen.
And now all these things have been done, and there have been thousands slain on both sides, both the Nephites and the Lamanites. And it came to pass that the 366th year had passed away, and the Lamanites came again upon the Nephites to battle, and yet the Nephites repented not of the evil they had done, but persisted in their wickedness continually. And it is impossible for the tongue to describe, or for man to write a perfect description of the horrible scene of the blood and carnage which was among the people, both of the Nephites and of the Lamanites, and every heart was hardened, so that they delighted in the shedding of blood continually. And there never had been so great wickedness among all the children of Lehi, nor even among all the house of Israel, according to the words of the Lord, as was among this people.
Okay, so as the battle rages on, this is in 9, he says the thousands slain on both sides, right? And so at this point, maybe it would have been a good time to call a truce, but that's not what's going to happen, all right? So in 10, you see they come again to battle, since the Nephites repented not of the evil they had done, persisted in their wickedness continually. All right, and now in 11, see, remember this is Mormon writing the story of what's happened, all right? And so as you can see, he's writing about this one's killed and thousands are killed. So that's why now 11, it's impossible for the tongue to describe, or for man to write a perfect description of the horrible scene of the blood and carnage which was among the people, right? Just watching it happen was bad enough without trying to describe it in detail. If somebody today was writing a novel or making a movie, they try to make it as graphic as possible for the shock value, right? And so here he's saying, I'm not wanting to do that, all right? I'm not going to describe to you exactly even what was happening, because it's just too horrible to even witness. So just suffice it to say that lots of people are getting killed, and people are so wicked, and their hearts are so hardened because they're delighting in the shedding of blood continually. Imagine getting up that way and saying, how many people can I kill today, and how much blood can I spill today, all right? That was the only goal of the day, was to kill people, all right? So you can see how wicked it was. And that's why it says in 12, there had never been so great wickedness among all the children of Lehi, or all the house of Israel, as there was among this people, all right? This is all they were living for, was just to kill people each day. And each day that venture was successful to an extent, right? There was people being killed every day, and so the numbers are dwindling. It's just now there's thousands killed on each side.
And it came to pass that the Lamanites did take possession of the city desolation, and this because their number did exceed the number of the Nephites. And they did also march forward against the city Teancum, and did drive the inhabitants forth out of her, and did take many prisoners, both women and children, and did offer them up as sacrifices unto their idol gods. And it came to pass that in the 367th year, the Nephites being angry, because the Lamanites had sacrificed their women and their children, that they did go against the Lamanites with exceeding great anger, insomuch that they did beat again the Lamanites and drive them out of their lands.
Now as the battle continues, all right, and it says now the battle in the city desolation, the city Teancum, notice it says now they took prisoners of the women and children. And at first, if you would just read that part alone, you'd say, all right, well, they're killing each other, the men and the soldiers, so the women and children are just going to take, as prisoners. But as you see, it was not to be humane about it, because it says they used them for sacrifices unto the idol gods. It means they killed them for sacrifices, all right? So that's how terrible that was. So even women and children were not out of reach here, right? They were just killing them in different ways as sacrifices to the idol gods. So now in 15 it just says, well, the Nephites didn't like that, all right? So they were angry because they sacrificed women and children, so therefore they're going to go fight some more, it says, with exceeding great anger. And when you consider that kind of thing, all right, it says, now people are fighting with each other, and you can see maybe similar things if you've ever witnessed people at odds with each other or fighting, maybe not this in particular, but as it escalates, right, it gets worse and worse, and so then one side finds itself want to do something worse than has been done before to get at the other side. Then the other side gets angry that that was done, so then they have to do something even worse than that. And so really it's just escalates into a really bad situation. And that's really what's happening here, is that now they're killing the women and children. Now the Nephites are mad, they're killing the women and children, so now they're going to do something else back. All right, and so it's like that now, right? Just back and forth, trying to escalate or do better or do worse than what was done to your side. We're going to do that to the other side. And not thinking for a moment that, well, that when you do that to them, they can do something worse than that back to you, right? So, so you never really win when you're doing it that way, just everybody loses.
And the Lamanites did not come again against the Nephites until the 375th year, and in this year they did come down against the Nephites with all their powers, and they were not numbered because of the greatness of their number. And from this time forth did the Nephites gain no power over the Lamanites, but began to be swept off by them even as a dew before the sun. And it came to pass that the Lamanites did come down against the city Desolation, and there was an exceedingly sore battle fought in the land Desolation, in the which they did beat the Nephites.
A few years had passed, all right, but the Lamanites were not using the time idly. They were gathering up even a bigger army now, and they're ready to come and really put an end to this. And so that's what it sounds like is happening, right? In the 17th, they came down against the Nephites. They were not numbered because of the greatness of their numbers. And in 18, now, from this time forth, the Nephites gain no power over the Lamanites, all right? So they're not going to win anymore, all right? They're going to just slowly or quickly be wiped out, all right? So little by little, they're going to lose the rest of this battle now. So they began to be swept off by them, even as a dew before the sun, all right? And 19, to the city Desolation, so forth, all the cities that were left that the Nephites inhabited, the Lamanites are going after them now. They come with a huge army, and now they're ready to put an end to the war here.
And they fled again from before them, and they came to the city Boaz, and there they did stand against the Lamanites with exceeding boldness, insomuch that the Lamanites did not beat them until they had come again the second time. And when they had come the second time, the Nephites were driven and slaughtered with an exceedingly great slaughter. Their women and their children were again sacrificed unto idols. And it came to pass that the Nephites did again flee from before them, taking all the inhabitants with them, both in towns and villages. And now I, Mormon, seeing that the Lamanites were about to overthrow the land, therefore I did go to the hill Shim, and did take up all the records which Ammoron had hid up unto the Lord.
In 20 to 22, it says, the battle continues, and it says, maybe the Nephites held off a little bit, but it says the Lamanites came the second time, and the Nephites were driven and slaughtered, women and children sacrificed, the Nephites are fleeing, right? So the Lamanite army has what you would call the momentum at this point, right? They're just kind of moving from city to city and from battle to battle, and so they're slowly winning over the entire war, right? Now in 23 it says, now I, Mormon, seeing the Lamanites about to overthrow the land, went to the hill Shim and took up all the records which Ammoron had hid up unto the Lord. Talking about everything, right? These are all the records that were ever kept, all right? It's from the beginning with Lehi and Nephi all the way down to here, and including whatever Mormon had written, all the records, right? Now, if you recall, in an earlier chapter, it mentioned that Mormon had gone and picked up, the records there. But I think the way it was, we picked up enough to just keep the record going at that time, but kept the bulk of it kind of hidden there, right? But now, since he went back and picked it all up, seeing the way the battle is going, as it says, seeing the Lamanites about to overthrow the land, right? He knows that he himself may not even live that much longer, so he went to gather them all up and to figure out what it was that's going to be done with them now, right? Because we don't want them lost, and even if they were now hidden or buried or something, if he's the only one who knows where they are, and he dies, well then no one's going to know where they are, so it's just as good as being lost, all right, or if they've been destroyed, because nobody would know where they were then. So he went to get them and then to figure out what it is he's going to do with them, to make sure that they would continue to be intact and passed on to future generations.